So now we're going to add, subtract, multiply, and divide them. So here you have to pay attention. We are adding here. So this is the same as combining like terms. I have an x squared term here and an x squared term here. So I have one of these plus one of these. It's going to give me 2x squared. Then I have an x term and another x term. So negative 4x plus negative 9x is a negative 13x. And then I have my constant terms, a negative 10 and a positive 3. Negative 10 plus 3 is a negative 7. This is already in standard form. There's no more like terms. There's nothing else to do. So this is my answer. Now the next one is a little trickier because here we see a minus sign. And what happens is you forget to subtract about halfway through, usually, even myself. So what I do is I pretend like this is a negative 1 and I multiply, distribute. Negative 1 times 7x squared is a negative 7x squared. Negative 1 times a negative 3x is a positive 3x. And negative 1 times 3 is a minus 13. So I haven't done anything to this right here because there's nothing to do. But now I can combine like terms. So I have 10x squared minus a 7x squared is 3x squared. I have an x term and an x term, so that's negative 4x plus 3x, so that's a negative 1x. And then I have a positive 3 minus 13, so that's a negative 10. Now be careful and look for these signs because in the past I have students who just pretend like those signs aren't there or overlook them and they multiply everything. So be careful and add when you're supposed to add, subtract when you're supposed to subtract, and then these are the ones where you would actually multiply. And it's just distribute. So I'm going to distribute the 4x times the x, 4x squared. 4x times the 6, positive 24x. Then I'm going to distribute my minus 3 or my negative 3. So negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times the 6 is a negative 18. Then I need to see what goes together. So I have an x squared here. I don't have another x squared. So that's 4x squared. I have a 24x and a 3x, or a negative 3x. So that gives me a 21x. And then my minus 18, I'm going to just write here. Okay, here I have a binomial times a trinomial. And again, I'm just distributing. 2x times 2x squared, 4x to the third. 2x times a negative 5x is a negative 10x squared. 2x times the negative 3 is a negative 6x. Then I'm going to take my negative 1 here and do the same thing. Negative 1 times 2x squared is a negative 2x squared. And I'm getting ready to run out of room, so I'm going to line my like terms up. Negative 2x squared. Negative 1 times negative 5x, positive 5x. And negative 1 times negative 3, positive 3. So now when I combine my like terms, I have 4x to the third, negative 12x squared, minus x plus 3. And lastly, one that can be tricky. Students often look at this and say, I'm going to square both terms, but that's not how it works. You have to expand it out. Something squared is that something times itself. So we're back up to something like example number 3, where we're distributing. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. Negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. And negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. When we combine all of our like terms, negative 6x minus 6x is a negative 12x. And then we have the positive 9 at the end.